It is my firm belief that when human beings raise their emotional intelligence, or EQ, they live a more fruitful life both professionally and personally. The term emotional intelligence debuted in several scientific articles written by John D. Meyer during the early 1990s, and research defined emotional intelligence as the compilation of four kinds of skills, which were perceiving and expressing your own emotions and the emotions of others, understanding emotions and labeling them appropriately, and using emotions and managing them effectively. And while the definition may have been refined over the last 2 decades or so, the importance and power of strengthening your EQ has been confirmed and reinforced by study after study. And with E.Q.i.P, I've put together a program that allows people to safely practice and build their emotional intelligence using a technique developed by acting teacher Sanford Meisner. In the winter of 2012, I had moved to New York City after going through a very difficult breakup and had felt at rock bottom. I was shut off and angry and at the world, and I really disconnected. When you're at rock bottom, the only place to go is up. So I summoned the courage to explore a path that I had long interested me since I was a kid, really, which was acting. And I found myself by a couple odd twists of fate at an acting studio in Midtown Manhattan that taught me about the much acclaimed Meisner technique. And it was a decision that would ultimately changed my life. And so when I first arrived, it was very intimidating. I would watch my classmates and think, how are they so connected? They were seemingly relating to each other like they were brothers and sisters. And I knew the class hadn't gone on very long at that time. It had only been a couple weeks running. And I was trying to understand how they were so connected and bonded, and because they felt like they were brothers and sisters. And I learned very quickly that a good acting performance is predicated on a connection between two actors. You have to bond very quickly so as to put on a believable and truthful performance. And so, for example, if an actor is cast in a play to be a husband, and the actress that is cast is to be his wife, and she's never met him before, and vice versa, the idea is to condense the feelings and emotions of a 20-year marriage into, say, the 3 weeks or so that they're rehearsing before showtime. And so the audience has to see a long married couple and not just actors pretending to be husband and wife. It must be believable, it must be true, and that is kind of what we deem good acting. And it reminds me of the Anna Deavere Smith quote, famous actress, where she talks about how acting is actually the furthest thing from pretending. It's the most unfake thing there is. It's actually the search for truth. And so to become intimately bonded, you've got to really be intentional with your connection. Life necessitates being social and appropriate and hiding your vulnerability. And so while acting is not literally life or death, men and women, say, sent into battle, for instance, are forever bonded because they've experienced something emotionally vulnerable together. And they've had each other's backs and built a deep bond and a deep trust through doing so. And actors need to do the same. They need to trust their fellow actor with their hearts and their vulnerabilities on stage. And they've got to have each other's backs in the thick of it all. And so as I practiced the Meisner exercises and worked on the techniques, I noticed a transformation in myself. My life started to improve, and I began to reconnect again. I had become a more empathetic person, a better listener, a better communicator, all from taking a crash course on really how to connect truthfully through the art of acting. And I also recognized changes in my classmates as well, because not only were we learning and experiencing similar transformations, but we were becoming a team, like a real band of brothers. And that's what actors study. They're almost like mad scientists in the laboratory who are working on emotion and how to connect and what that all means. And so as I was sitting there and trying to define what it is that we were learning, because clearly to me there was something going on beyond just becoming a better actor, I began to realize that we were developing this thing called emotional intelligence, and that this class was almost like a gym to work out your EQ muscles of bonding and connection and empathy. And I thought, people practice things like basketball or cooking or even algebra or mathematics so as to get better at them. And for something that's so essential to our lives and our well-being as individuals and partners and coworkers, I thought that EQ sort of deserved its own gym. It was a place to practice, a regimen to improve, our emotional muscles for a better life.